Hello everyone, in today's video we're gonna talk about early red Unholy that night. How good is early DK, what are his pros and cons, how gear affects your experience in PvP, and what gear you should chase in early phase of Red of the Lich King. When I made this DK in this bracket, you are just above 400 resilience, and I found that frustrating for playing DK. You lose against rogues, ferals used to kill me almost from their opener with bleeds, hunters are completely unbeatable, elemental shamans 2-shots you, and hastemans beats you too. I couldn't survive one strangulate from DKs. Then I saw that was the main problem because PvE items are of very low usage for Unholy Dead Knights. You need to survive and let your diseases mix with coils, eat the target slowly, and on top of that you have Gargoyle, which is overpowered as always. I started building differently and I got some PvP offset with some resilience gems and enchants, and now I'm rolling around 700 to 800 resilience and feeling very good against almost every spec. So let's take a quick look at the gear and the stats. I have around 4% hit rating because my drain eye ratio gives me another 1%. Then I have 121 spell penetration, which should be at 135, so you don't lose damage from resistance. And I have 760 resilience. I would change the enchant on legs and get attack damage and critical instead, but later will I get some more PvP items. You should always wear 2 weapons with Fallen Crusader enchant as your main enchant, and Sword Shattering for design time decrease against rogues, arms warriors, hunters, maybe priests, so you can change them. So let's start with Paladins. In this bracket I found Paladins really easy to kill. They lack resilience just like you do, but you have enough defensive cooldowns to outperform them. All you have to do is to keep the distance as much as you can, to bring his instant heal procs on minimum, and speed the coils with Gargoyle summoned. Every single Paladin I fought popped Divine Shield if they didn't use Wings or Divine Protection earlier. It's impossible to survive with this gear. I love to use Horn of Winter before fight starts to boost my runic power and open with chains and pop fast anti-magic shot for potential stun, followed with some cleanses where I lose a lot on my diseases. Anti-magic shell can also be used later to cover yourself from turn EO when using Lichborn to heal, but in this bracket trust me, you don't need to do that if he doesn't pop Divine Shield. If fast, rapid and secures, don't trinket, start with setting diseases and fast that coil to lock them up from being dispelled. As soon as you got some runic power, start making space for kiting and coils. Whenever diseases start fading out, get in close combat to renew them. By the way, I'm using the clip of diseases, so my pestilence renew both of them. I usually use Icebound when my AMS expires to make him unable to use his stun again, and to set the base for incoming burst with Gargoyle. I forgot to use it now, and I had to instant trinket the stun. He popped the wings and that was the end. I used instant Icebound now, which cost me some runic power, so I used empowered runic weapon to gain some more RP for Gargoyle and to reset Unholy and Frost runes for burst. So when summoning Gargoyle, make sure to use Strangulate just before Gargoyle comes from the ground to make Pala unable to turn evil on him. That's the most important part there. Now you will see how it goes when you don't strangulate on time and let the Paladin survive.
Hammered Justice, Avenging Wrath, Freedom. Turn neutral. Repentance.
I had a chance to strangulate again and I didn't, that was very bad. I used Corpse Explosion to add some more 4.5k bonus damage, but it wasn't enough and he managed to use Divine
Shield.
Then I used Lichborn and started healing for another fight, but make sure to cancel the aura so you don't get feared.
Double down. Freedom. Divine Sacrifice. Hammer of Justice. Trinity. Freedom.
About fighting paladins in general, I have a video where I beaten Prague Paladin, but duel was 9 minutes long, and I also have a battleground video where I made 2 same gear paladins pop divine in same time in fight 2 versus 1. Good Prague would probably still win Unholy that night in this bracket, but I didn't see any good one. So let's move on warriors. I find it not very hard to deal with ADDONS warriors because it's not 284 meta and they lack critical and ARP penetration a lot. Go with Frost Presence to be a little bit tankier since they have just physical damage and 50% healing reduction. When they charge, I love to put both diseases, use Pet Stun to be able to use some free blood strikes so I can get death runes for kiting we are about to start just after that. Now when we did that, just make a dead zone where he cannot charge or hit you and starts walking slowly in other direction, but keep an eye on his movement. If he starts going back to charge, go to him slowly and repeat that. He broke that kiting by using instant Blade Storm to remove slow. He also had Mortal Strike and Rend on me, so instant Icebound is necessary there. While he's under Blade Storm, try to make Runic Power for Gargoyle and wait for Blade Storm to end to use instant Chain of Ice and start kiting again. When he saw Gargoyle, he popped up defensives and that's another reason for kiting. Now as you can see, your Gargoyle is doing major job there. Split the coils on top of that or save them for sacrificing the pet for heal. I made a mistake here by using that pact under Mortal Strike which had 1 second left. And effect from healing was 50% decreased. Don't trinket the fear, use a Lichborn. Also if you use the Lichborn, make sure to heal yourself a little bit with coils. Every duel I recorded against warriors is similar to this one, so let's move straight to the rogues. Like I said in my rogue video, I didn't have much hard time killing DKs, so that still stands. This is a very hard matchup for DKs unless you go full resilience build, but even then. Still, unlike hunters, I had at least 50% win rate against different rogues. Set your pet behind you, so if rogue stays still in his opener, you can stun him even if he has evasion, but if rogue moves like that, you don't waste your stun for nothing. Also I need to mention this, because this can clearly make a difference against rogues. If he somehow put the bleed effect in opener, you can instant trinket cheap shot and use macro with empowered rune weapon and icebound, because that way he cannot blind you and will not be able to use kidney shot either. That way win is almost guaranteed. You can maybe see the full kidney shot and shadow dance with 1.4k resilience and tank items, but in this bracket with DPS trinkets it's absurd. You have to trinket kidney shot and use icebound instantly if he uses shadow dance. Now all you can do is chains of ice and spend runic on coils or rune strike and kite. You can't do much there. As soon as he cloaked and vanished, I prepared my fingers on D&D to reveal him. Sometimes it works very well, but this time I was unlucky. Now all you have there is to pray for him not to attack before wound poison expires. If you use that pact on wound poison, you surely lose. If you manage to use DP when wound expires, you have a chance. Don't forget to renew a bone shield. If you have a time, it will help a lot. Now your job here is just to stand in place because you don't have a trinket. Now when you eat the blind, use Lichborn just before blind expires because it won't let rogue sap you and open it with Shadow Dance once again. That way you can use Blood Boil just to reveal him. It works in 90% of time if rogues want to set him. Now start kiting normally and you can now summon Gargoyle with ERV or use Coil to heal while kiting under Lich board. Although I forgot to summon my pet and use his stun. It would be 100% win. Next one is 2k rated Assassination Rogue. I'm not sure if he plays this pack in Arena, but I'm guessing since his gear is jammed with raw attack damage. I also need to mention that he has very good arena rating trinkets and better gear overall. First thing you want to do on start is to use anti-magic shell ASAP, so he cannot stack his deadly poison, which makes his opener and his DPS very bad. Trinket is always saved just for kidney shot whenever it happens. After he cloaked, I use Icebound because I applied diseases through his cloak because he didn't have evasion up, and I prepared for another opener. Now cast Anti-Magic Zone and sacrifice the pet. Anti-Magic Zone will decrease his damage by insane amounts. Now we move to the most overpowered spec called Marksmanship Hunter. If someone doesn't know who is behind this name, it's Hot Wheels Hunter, my partner from Arena video. So he's playing Hunter like all his life, and I'll show you how broken is this spec when guy knows how to play this. Where from opener I lose 60% HP without being able to use any of my spells. First, he secures opener with Shadow Melt and Scatter. Then he uses Instant Silence so I cannot use my chains. Then when silence is about to expire, he uses Death Rains to prevent the potential grip or stun from pet. And then he cancels the aura and knock with pet. And I am there with exactly 0 runic power and more than half HP missing. And here is the first moment when I am able to cast any of my spells. Okay, he used second deterrence and I'm close to him, which means he surely used some of the traps to make a space. That's the moment when you go anti-magic shell and wait for Death Rains to expire. Spam chains and try to sacrifice pet ASAP while aim shot debuff is off. When he makes space again and your grip is on cooldown, your first thought should be switching on pet to hit some death strikes and get some runic power for Gargoyle or Lichborn heal, depends on situation. You can see that my Gargoyle was focusing his pet instead of him, because I didn't use Blood Strike, where is my macro for pet attack. That's why you should have slash pet attack on every of your damaging spells. This was like beginner from me. Now I will show you duel where I won, because little things make huge difference in outcome. But still he is dictating the outcome. If he plays perfectly, it's his win. No Shadow Meld on start made me change him before he scattered me, and I forced early Master's Call that way, which is very huge, and I bought some time with pet stun. Now listen me closely. I would say that most important thing in opener is to pop Icebound as fast as you can. Nothing else matters. But problem is that he changed CC so good that I wasn't able to use ERV to gain runic power for Icebound in last duel. Now I had a room for Icebound to use, cause I probably disrupted him a little bit with early chains and stun. Focus pet as long as you can and spit some coils on Hunter, and don't use grip when you're just about to enter the range or when he's on the edge of the duel zone. Now he expected grip, so he used that deterrence, and again we are getting close to him, which is perfect time from EMS. You probably have no clue how important it is to get not stacked in the traps that allows him to make a range in a blink of an eye and you are dead. I made a lot of runic power here, so it's time for Gargoyle and fast gripped after disengage. To avoid it, he had to use readiness right after disengage, which is not easy to think about. Before we move on, I need to mention that we played surely around 25 to 30 duels and I won maybe 6 or 7, which is around 55%. But you also need to have in mind that this guy I was fighting is lifetime hunter and the bracket we are playing in. Percentage would be, I'm sure, again around 50% or above if I duel random hunters that don't know what they are doing. Still, hunter remains one of the hardest matchups here. Now we move on only caster that made me lose a duel in this bracket, 2.2k experience Frost Mage. He won like 2 first duels and from then he lost every duel. I have a lot of respect for him because I'm playing Brain Dead spec. He was also close to killing Hot Wheels, which is close to impossible in this bracket. There is a point just to use your defensive cooldowns in proper time. 1 or 2 missed cooldowns can cost you a duel. Before you write anything about this mage opener, I will let you know that he tried every possible opener and the outcome was the same. He tried silence poly, deep freeze poly, and it was the same. So what I did here in opener is I used a chain of ice and then Horn of Winter to gain some bonus runic power for AMS. But make sure you are not too close to a mage so he cannot freeze you before you use AMS. If he freezes you and you use AMS, that's a huge waste of cooldown. This way you make insane pressure on start. Deep freeze and poly are expected just after EMS, so keep your finger on Lichborn because it makes you immune to poly. Now I used pet stun to try to force his blink and I did it. Now I can freely grip him and it was matter of time when he will do ice block. Trinket is pretty situational. You might trinket poly or deep freeze, depend on situation as I said, but this one was perfect, not letting him to heal and reopen. I don't stay close to him while ice blocked, so he cannot freeze me and deep freeze when he cancelled the aura. I could easily grip him here, but anti-magic zone was more used for a video and I use it when he activates icy veins and you're out of grip cooldown. Also I use gargoyle since he just left ice block, so it was GG. And the thing I just saw is that I put wrong video on the Frost Mage and the better duel is the next one. So I wasted 20 minutes for nothing. As we said in first video, Lichborn on poly. Now we do AMS for pressure. Now you can compare this situation with last video. This is clearly not a way to use your trinket. We have grip in 7 seconds in anti-magic zone and we already forced 1 ice block. Now look at his damage. First thing we want to do after deep freeze is that pact. We go full pressure on him now when we have HP and we are summoning Gargoyle to make him ice block fast. After ice block we are ready to use Strangulate. And you can also see again the trinket was once more perfect. Just don't waste your trinket in early phases of duel when you don't need. And the last voice cover will be on Feral matchup, which is one of the toughest. But pity I didn't find one good Feral to make this more interesting. After Feral I will drop a Shadow Priest and 2 season better gear, and that's it. Other casters are not even worth mentioning, just impossible to beat Dead Knight in this bracket. I don't like letting druids make full opener on me before I use Icebound, so I make early stun. Use Natural Grasp and Berserk in combo to make me unable to move while he's stacking up combo points, but I used Anti-Magic Shell and started kiting. Also I used Icebound when he came close to me after a few seconds. After Icebounds I recommend early Gargoyle because that's the key of winning. Later you summon Gargoyle, more chance you give to Druid. This way you'll make him think more about defensive rather than DPS. As you can see, he made a pretty nice damage on me, and it's time for Death Pact. And I didn't manage to use just Death Strikes, and you can delete Scorch Strikes from your binds. I should have just Strangulate here and ended, but I was really busy healing with coils. Go early AMS, stack Runic Power fast and wait for Horror. Use weapon with Disarm enchant and wait for him to start casting Vampiric Touch to stun him with Pet.
Psychic Horror.
Wait
Psychic
for Fear,
Scream.
then use Lichborn.
Counter.
Cancel the aura from Lichborn because you can get shackled. Strangulate on Gargoyle and DPS and just pit coils. Use Icebound if needed and save Trinket for Fear.
Counter.
Use Corpse Explosion to end the things.
Psychic Scream.
For end, I made a fun display how this pack acts in fight against each spec. Big note is that this stands just for this gear and this bracket. Green circles are easy matchups, orange are tough ones, and red are very hard and impossible matchups. By impossible I mean just on healers. As you can see, you can farm most of specs in game, and if they are noobs to average players you can kill absolutely everybody. So guys, this is everything for today. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel because it means a lot to me. See you soon and peace.